All right, everyone. Welcome to our DevOps office hours. It's May 5th, Cinco de Mayo, 2021. My name is Eric Osterman, and I'll be leading the conversation. I'm the founder and CEO of Cloud Posse. We're a DevOps accelerator, and that means that we help companies own their infrastructure in record time by building it together with your team while showing them the ropes. So if that sounds interesting, head over to cloudposse.com/quiz to get started. Again, that's cloudposse.com/quiz to get started. For those of you new to the call, the format's very informal. My goal is to get your questions answered. So feel free to unmute yourself at any time if you want to jump in and participate. And if you're tuning in from our podcast or YouTube channel, you can register for these live and interactive sessions by going to cloudposse.com/office hours. Again, that's cloudposse.com/office hours. We host these calls every week. We'll automatically post a video recording of this session to our YouTube channel. So if you enjoy our content and want to support it, please hit those like and subscribe buttons. We'll also follow up with an email so you can share it with your team. So that said, for today, these are actually not my announcements. These are the slides from last week. So ignore that. Anybody have any good announcements today? I'm in the midst of moving. I just relocated from Los Angeles, California to Texas, and hence the lack of preparation for today's call. Any cool things going on in DevOps?
KubeCon and Cloud Native Con are happening this week, so a bunch of Kubernetes related things. AWS cut the price of their managed Prometheus by 80% or something like that.
80%. Wow.
I might be wrong on the number. It was a significant price cut.
Dramatic.
And it's still a service that's in preview, though. Keep that in mind. But yeah, AWS Container Day was a thing yesterday.
I mean, the initial feedback I'd heard on AWS Managed Prometheus was that it was quite pricey for what it was. Does this make it compelling suddenly? Yeah, I wonder how much of a reduction is necessary for it to be compelling.
I guess so. I haven't done the math on it as it's still in preview. I played with it. Okay, yeah, it was reduced by 84%. I'm gonna post the link somewhere.
Wow. That's very cool. Has anybody kicked the tires already on the managed Prometheus and or using it?
I did. It's basically managed and opinionated Prometheus stack. It's running open source, like it's Cortex in the background, so it's not doing anything super fancy or AWS only, and they're integrating that with AWS SSOs and other things.
Okay, so when is Prometheus announcing a license switch to AGPL?
For the record, the Grafana, the AWS managed Grafana thing has a special deal with Grafana Labs, and they're not affected.
Good to know. Okay, good to know. All right. Let's see what else. What are any other interesting container announcements?
Just to comment on the pricing thing, I know I looked at it one time. I was just pulling up my notes and I just tried to do the new math, and I think for about 10 million samples a month plus normal queries and all of that kind of stuff, I think it works out to be about $80, something like that. So it's not too crazy. It seems like a pretty reasonable pricing for what they provide for it. So it's not too far off.
And what are the scaling characteristics of the managed Prometheus? Does it scale transparently like S3, or is it still like an RDS where you need to manually scale it up?
No, it scales like transparently for you. It basically does. You just have a metric ingestion cost, storage, and queries basically, and you can just shove as much data as you want into it, and it handles it.
Cool. Anybody know what they did to scale Prometheus?
I didn't get the question. What was the question?
No, anybody know what the behind the scenes a little bit, how Amazon went about implementing managed Prometheus? I'm just curious.
It's probably just an API compatible, and under the hood, it's CloudWatch. I'm kidding. I have no idea how they actually did it. I haven't read those docs.
They did discuss how they built it at AWS Container Day yesterday,
Oh, they did?
but I don't know the details. Just that it's
Okay.
Cortex under the hood. I haven't kept up to date with it.
Yeah.
Also, AWS announced CloudFront functions yesterday or the day before, something like that.
How is that
Which is-
different from Lambda at Edge?
It's a sixth of the price. It's JavaScript only. It has no network access, no file system access, and they can run for at most 1 millisecond.
Okay. What so this is great for like rewriting request headers and stuff like that.
Yep, people were complaining about having to use Lambda at Edge for that, and it was overkill, and now that's fixed.
Cool. Does it have the same problems of Lambda at Edge? Doesn't Lambda at Edge take forever to deploy your Lambdas or something or change? I haven't used it personally that much.
CloudFront functions are running in the actual CloudFront pops, which is different because we all thought that Lambda at Edge ran in the pops, but no, they actually run in some regional thingies. I'm still a bit unclear on that. And CloudFront functions has a development mode where the deploys are a tiny bit faster.
Okay, that's good. There's also a problem like deleting CloudFront distributions if they ever use Lambda at Edge, no? Maybe that was resolved a while ago.
Yeah, I think they eventually fixed that.
And the CloudFront propagation time is typically under 5 minutes, I think, right now. Like they did the big improvement a while ago, and it should be around 5 minutes-ish right now. I might be wrong.
I'd actually be interested to see. Like, I thought what you said must have been like a typo or something about the 1 millisecond maximum execution time, and I just looked at it. So they must be doing something to pre-compile those functions, because like even just with the JIT compiler inside JavaScript, I mean, it usually takes more than a millisecond to compile anything of substance. So I'm not sure how they can even do that. So see, that's pretty interesting. Maybe that's post compilation, like actual runtime from the time they execute the function to the time that it returns. But that seems like crazy fast. And even like using any libraries or anything along those lines,
Any
would basically
regex.
get rid of you. Yeah, like literally that would disqualify you from using any of that stuff.
Probably.
You can definitely use any libraries you want. You can actually write the code in TypeScript, get it compiled down to whatever JavaScript version they want, and that's gonna work. You just have to keep the package under 2 megs or something like that.
Oh, I'm just saying basically like just looking at processor cycle time, like less than 1 millisecond eliminates being able to do anything complex basically in on the edge there.
Yeah. Anyone else have any other interesting announcements coming out of the cons going on this week? Conferences?
I don't know about
Kubernetes SIGs are no longer SIGs, they're TAMs now.
Like technical
Tags.
account manager?
No, they are tags, which are technical something something. They changed the names and I was very, very confused.
Huh. Interesting.
Technical advisory group.
Okay, makes sense. Cool. Well, let's move into then, I guess, some questions. I only saw one from Eric Berg. Oh, I misunderstood. I misread actually this. I read for debugging, but this you said actually for forensic evaluations, like a compromised pod? How would you take a snapshot of that for forensic purposes, kind of?
Sort of like something blew up and we want to take a
Oh,
look at the other
so it is
pods.
truly for like debugging, kind of, yeah.
Yeah, it's for debugging. We want to get into it if we can, but not have it, terminated.
I can
Let the rest
take
of the
this.
go on. Sorry, Eric. What was that?
No, that was Blood. I can answer this because I actually had to fight with this kind of recently. So if a pod is terminated, there's not much to keep. It's like, I don't know, eating a pizza, getting sick after eating the pizza and wanting to keep the original pizza. It doesn't work like that in that process. For actual application failures, you can set termination grace period something, grace period seconds to something super big, and also termination message path and termination message policy, I think they're named. High chance I'm wrong on the naming, but those will basically give you all the relevant details for why the pod failed, what's the error, what happened, and so on. For actual debugging, yeah, on the docs that Eric is on right now, you can use ephemeral debug containers, which are a pretty new feature. I don't know exactly what version they are supported from. So that's mostly for actual pod failures, like what you can do. Obviously, have as many logs as possible, capture the Kubernetes events that are triggers, so you see if you have restarts, if you have any readiness, liveness failures, and so on and so forth. For the actual forensics, like if the pod is still running, there are tools. Let me search for it. There was a Cube Forensics something tool that actually dumped the whole container somehow. And you can also use tools. Security is not my area, so keep in mind that may be wrong about this. But that's for what actually happened in the container and the file system. You should also do memory dumps of the actual container pod memory space to actually see what happened there, because a lot of, especially viruses, malware, whatever, are running in memory only to get rid of that. I know there was a guide on this. I'm gonna search for it and I'm gonna paste it in the Slack thingy. But yeah, for a terminated pod, it's terminated. Like you kind of ran an executable and that failed. There is nothing still there to keep. If it's still running, you have some options, but they are super intense.
Yeah, we got all our events logging to our log system and the logs as well. So there's not much to a terminated log. Terminated, that you could get from like, kubectl, just the description. But that was all very good stuff. Gave me lots to go on. Thank you very much.
Also, kind of related to what we were talking about a little while ago, Joaquin was talking about Pixie. I know it was announced last year, but there was some announcement yesterday about Pixie.
So new relic bottom, it's open source.
Okay. Has anyone kicked the tires on Pixie?
Oh, it looks awesome. I mean, I haven't gone through the features. I just had a colleague at work like spin it up, and the interface is really intuitive.
Nice.
It's definitely worth a try. I mean, it just really incredible, nice interface.
Do you think it is it strict? In what ways does the monitor? What are the closest analogs to Pixie? And would it help for Eric's debugging? It says it has traces here in logs.
Yeah,
so
it's going to be in the area of I guess Tempo and Jaeger in that area.
Okay.
And then it might do some stuff naturally out of the box rather than having strict support built into the code for it. You could like kind of look at the plumbing and the networking where things are going and the flow is going, from what I understand. So you get some basic stuff out of the box.
It's interesting that it's deployed as a daemon set.
That isn't unusual for observability type platforms for like tracing. So like one of the configurations you can do with Jaeger is deploy it as a daemon set. And then what happens is the pods will send to there directly to the daemon set within each region or whatever, wherever you have it.
That makes sense. And then the cluster for that is responsible for forwarding the metrics onwards or whatever.
And the question comes down to like, how long do you want to keep the traces for? So like, did something crash yesterday and you still want to have that? Or did something crash in the last half hour and you want to be able to go through the traces for that? So that's kind of what it is obviously how much money you're paying for disk space and all that to keep it around.
Yeah, makes sense. Cool. Anything else to add to this by anyone?
I think their big selling point is that and I have no experience with it, so I can just say I've only read the marketing material, that they claim that you can get observability and tracing and metrics without instrumenting your code or your pods. Like they have some way to like dynamically inspect everything that's running and give you that information without, where if you look at like Jaeger or X-Ray or any of the other possibilities out there, you usually have to instantiate some sort of library and wrap your calls in something so that you get good tracing data. So I'd be interested to see how that is. And I also know that that Pixie said that they're in the process of contributing everything back to the CNCF. So it would be interesting if they do that. Like I assume it would become more popular if that happened.
I see that it's using eBPF for tracing, which is good. Like that's the whole point of eBPF, and it's awesome. But I don't think that's gonna be enough, because typically when you do traces, you want the actual business context in there. Like, awesome, I'm gonna see 3,000 requests to the database. Well, no, that would be too large. I'm gonna see, I don't know, 500 requests to the database and 300 requests to the APIs. That's awesome. But I personally would like to see them in like nicer named spans with, here I'm querying for the list of users. Here I am now querying for this other thing because that happened. Like making traces actually understandable and visible, that helps a lot. And it's not something that can be done automatically. But yeah, it's gonna dump a lot of info, which it's better than nothing.
Can somebody? Oh, sorry, go on.
I would be very, very wary of something that says that you can instrument your application without doing anything. Like, yeah, it's gonna be better than nothing, but it's not gonna give you the actual tracing that is gonna help. And I like to believe that you all had traces with like 3,000 spans and you could not understand it at all because it lacked that context.
Yeah, context is everything. Can someone explain eBPF to me though? I'm curious about this. Recently came up when I heard how Cilium works, and I hear really great things about it, but I know nothing about it.
I'll let someone else try to answer that. If no one else does, I'll try it.
Okay. I think you're up, Joaquin.
All right, so like basically, you're familiar. You heard of packet filter from BSD?
Packet filters from in BSD. I mean, I like packet filters in the sense of like IP tables.
Yeah, like IP change, stuff like that. So they had packet filters, which became really popular, say introspection, deep analysis of packets to be able to filter out for firewalls. But that same technology can't come over to say the Linux kernel and the way to do like tracing at the kernel level as well. So it's not just network kind of level analysis. And I think like the biggest thing that what's very popular about it is the performance. And so what happens is they have like kind of like a VM bytecode, if you imagine like Java, to use a register base type scenario that get incredible amount of performance, like 30 times or more greater than like say other systems that would do this type of level of system level tracing. And that platform has been improved. And it's so they have it as part of the kernel, but obviously you can't start adding modules to the kernel space and then blow up your kernel and blow up everything. So they do is they added like a kind of a system library to be able to do things from user land into the kernel space. And so you can create modules and stuff in user land to adapt it and get that tracing. And it just basically becomes so popular. And so what happens usually too with like a lot of tracing, you'll have like a Java tracing, you'll have another language tracing, you'll have all these kind of different things, and all these are grossly complex. So this is a way to kind of have a uniform tracing system for like all the languages that's super highly performant and modular, where you could add modules. And it's become like hotcakes or whatever. It's like really popular. And like besides this tool with Pixie, there's also Falco. So it has not only like say tracing capabilities to find out where your performance is, fire graphs, and all kinds of things like that, but also for security.
I think the other, oh, sorry, I was just gonna say the other interesting thing about it is that it's all like, it's all event driven. So I think what happens is they hook somewhere, like they insert the eBPF like hooks into like before you get to the scheduler. So basically when you make a call, like a system call or function entry or exit, like on the actual like stack space, when they make syscalls inside the process, it actually hooks it and raises an event that can then be handled by any eBPF like plugin, and then it then deals with all of that, to do whatever it wants to do with it. And I think there's like a whole bunch of like system calls, function calls, network calls, memory, like a bunch of things that you would normally want, hooked, are all hooked by default. And then you can actually write your own like custom probes or whatever they call them, for other events that aren't naturally called by the operating system. So it seems pretty cool.
Yeah, and also recommend like I think for Cloud Posse, if they started building expertise on Falco and EBF, what it can allow them to do is get corporations in conform with different types of compliance standards from the government and whatnot. So it's a platform that could really help, and that'd be a super selling point right now. Because I know in my company, SREs, we're looking into it, and we want to have something with Falco and EBPF going forward for security compliance, so people could be onboarded in different industries into our platform.
Interesting. Yeah, it's nothing that's really come up for us yet, but I hear it talked about more and more, so I wanted to get it.
Well, it's one of those things, you build it, they will come.
All right. Anyone have anything to add to the eBPF conversation?
And I don't know if it's available, but there's a free book out there from O'Reilly. Because SysDig, you probably have to like sign your name up to get spammed or something with marketing material. But there's like a Linux observability with BPF, and it has a good introductory type material in there. It's like really great. Yeah, like Linux observability with BPF.
All right, I'll share that one.
Yeah, and so there's probably companies, like if you search for it, they'll give you like a free, chapters or whatever it is that you can download for free.
And what's the difference between eBPF and BPF?
One has an E at the beginning.
One is I think one is the one for FreeBSD, that comes from FreeBSD, and the other one is the version that was ported over to Linux, which got enhanced in some way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Enhanced BPF, maybe.
Yeah, that's you add E. Remember before, when you add E, you get more IPO money.
That's funny.
But yeah,
right.
typically if you see EPF, then like BPF would be like the generic platform and packet filter and whatnot in BSD. And then EBF is going to be Linux kernel. So think Linux kernel and packet filter, that'll be eBPF.
Yeah, the BPF in that is the Berkeley packet filter. Like that's what that is. So it's like the enhanced version of it. So
extended. That's the official.
Or extended. Sorry.
Air quotes over extended.
Yes.
Okay. So there was one other quick question, very easy to answer. Lionel in the Zoom chat was saying, hey, discovered a great Terraform module that we have at Cloud Posse called Terraform Label to tag names, but how to pass values for the tag being defined. So actually, I think we have, if we haven't already, we are deprecating the Terraform label due to a lot of confusion over why we have two label modules. And this search is not helping me. Terraform.
Label will be more helpful.
Yeah, Terraform label. Let's see. So 17 days ago. Yeah, added deprecation notice. So we just added the deprecation notice here with an explanation of why we are deprecating Terraform label. And this to be extremely clear, we are not deprecating Terraform null label. That is the cornerstone of every single Cloud Posse Terraform module. We had a temporary, that wasn't so temporary, alternative module that wasn't based on the null provider. And that's why we, in the naming convention of Terraform modules, we created another module. Well, the Terraform null label module still doesn't use the null label provider anymore because the advances in the Terraform language, HCL, don't require it anymore. But we decided to keep the name just because of the traction that the module has. We didn't want to add confusion. So to answer your question, don't use Terraform label, use Terraform null label. And if you look at Terraform null label, it's way more up to date, has tons more features, including passing your own custom tags in there. It also supports interesting things like being able to format or normalize basically your labels based on certain types like title case, uppercase, lowercase, or none. But by far the most awesome thing about null label is the context. So we have a, if you go to YouTube, for YouTube and you search for null label, we have a great explanation for that one. Or we have a context.tf pattern. Let's see if YouTube search fails me. It totally fails me, even though that's literally what it says. Cloud Posse. Yeah, there it is.
Yes, I think I'm in this video.
Oh,
Yeah, I think I originally asked the question.
oh, or this is Patrick now talking, or?
Yeah.
Okay. But you weren't the one who asked in the chat, right? I'm just.
No.
Okay, yeah.
No, I've just asked it originally, and then I've seen people ask before, and you've shared it all the time. And I watched it once. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So if you guys have any questions, ask Patrick here. Now he's up to speed. No, but this is a great. Also, if you're not aware, like on our YouTube channel, Andy Miguel on our team has been slicing up these office hours into these segments that are pretty short. Like this one here is just 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And these are outtakes from our office hours of interesting topics. All right. See any other questions here? I don't have any prepared questions, so please go ahead and ask away if you have anything. Also, yeah, if you're sharing links and stuff in the Zoom chat, I highly suggest also sharing them in the Slack channel so they're not lost. All right. Any other questions?
Yeah, you didn't show me how you pass the values to tags. So
yeah, sure. So, well, like when you say pass values to tags, tags is just a map. So it's a map of key value pairs. What kind of values are you thinking of? They need to be key value, like key value strings.
oh, okay. Suppose I have some conventions that make me name my tags like prefixing my tags with I don't know, the application name maybe, and
Oh,
I wanted the value to change. So I didn't have a fixed value. The value could change from apps to apps. So how could I achieve this?
so our module might not be the best fit then. I don't think we have any concept of adding a prefix to tags automatically, and it's opinionated about the tags that it adds. So by default, it adds, let's see if we have some example here.
But he could merge the prefix to the tag coming from the label module.
Yeah, you can always do a post process,
Yeah.
but you know, your mileage may vary. The key thing here is that, you
We
know,
have no
all
ability
of our
to,
modules,
we have no ability to configure the tag names. We have a set of tags that we enable. You can disable some of them, but the tag names are fixed. In the ones that we generate, you can add whatever tags you want, but you're fully responsible for them.
yeah. So yeah, exactly. So you can add as many as you want. You can't change the ones we add, and that's unfortunately just one of the opinionated things about the module and how it works right now. Also, like even if you did like a post-process filter and change some of the tags from the label that you pass into your resources, it's not, if you're using Cloud Posse modules, it's not really going to help you because all of our modules use this to generate consistent tags across everything.
Well, if you add the tags to your, if you create a base module using no label and add your tags to it, and then pass that context into any of our modules, and those will propagate.
In addition, though, to our opinionated tag names.
Yes.
So you can't, yeah, exactly.
You can actually,
Oh,
you can overwrite our tags actually. But you can't delete them.
yeah.
But you
Yeah,
can only
that-
overwrite the value, right? You can't overwrite the tag name.
Well, that would be creating a different tag, yeah.
Right.
That's what I mean by you can't delete them.
Yeah.
So the only other thing is, I mean, I guess my suggestion to solve your specific use case would probably be to fork the module and do it your way. I caution though that, yeah, I would, yeah. You're going to have diminishing returns, and you're still going to be fighting an uphill battle trying to change some of these fundamental opinionated conventions that we have, especially if you want to use any of our other modules. But if you're just using it on your own for your own modules, your own Terraform, yeah, fork it, come up with your own convention.
Okay, thanks.
Sure thing.
I was just perusing some news and saw an interesting AWS tidbit that starting May 1st, so retroactively, they announced that data transfer over a peering connection, that VPC peering connection that stays in the same AZ is now free.
Okay.
So if you're talking to, I guess, whatever, US East 1A to US East 1A on another VPC that's peered, it's free now. You don't have to pay any data charges.
Do I recall correctly that they stopped randomizing availability zones across AWS accounts?
I'm sorry, what did I missed your?
Do I recall correctly that Amazon stopped randomizing availability zones across organizations, meaning like account one, AZ US East, the availability zone US East 1A used to not correspond to US East 1A in another account, or not necessarily?
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
they do that. That's why to make sure that the AC that you're using, you have to look at the AC ID instead of the AZ name.
Okay.
Some
they are-
regions don't randomize.
Okay. Some
I think,
do. Some.
Last time I checked, West 2 doesn't randomize.
Okay.
But going back to what Matt was saying, VPC peering also preserves encrypted connections if you're using Nitro automatic encryption. Transit Gateway does not preserve encrypted commissions. Does not preserve the encrypted connection and does still charge for same region traffic.
True. Yes.
Interesting. I'm so curious why Transit Gateway would not. What you said is totally right, Jeremy, and I know that's the case. I'm just curious why the encryption behavior is different for the Transit Gateway versus the VPC peering with Nitro instances. Not asking for an answer per se.
I expect it's because it's using different hardware.
Okay, that makes sense. All right. Any other interesting announcements or questions? We got another 20 minutes on the books.
I was wondering if there was a link for the new pricing I wanted to share with my company.
The thing for the VPC, yeah, I can send it.
Yeah,
I'll post it in office hours. Give me 1 second.
Sweet.
Well, I have completely off topic of anything, but for culture stuff, I was wondering if you were curious to talk about Basecamp.
Sure. I don't have any firsthand Basecamp experience, so I can't talk, but others on the call might very well. Do you want to share your question, or
do you mean more of their new social stance?
Yeah, that's kind of the new thing. I guess the background is there's like concern they were calling their customers nicknames, and some of their nicknames were kind of racist and derogatory against certain companies with Asian or African background. And so then the CEO made an announcement that we're going to be neutral, and anything political, we're not going to say anything. So regardless of whether it's racist or not, we're just not going to say anything. Just keep doing what we're doing or whatever. It could be interpreted many different ways. And he tried to like do cartwheels and bend himself into pretzels to try to be neutral and quotes and all kinds of stuff. But the end result is 1/3 of the company just quit, including people that have like background and, you know, like strong VIP, you know, employees and senior employees have left. So they've lost a lot of talent, like capability as well. And now recently he tried to make another announcement, sort of trying to roll back that we need to rethink or something like that. And maybe I shouldn't, but I posted it. It's like, who's we? It's like, you made the decision. But it's been really interesting. There's a lot of articles and talk about it on the internet right now.
Yeah. Well, the we is truthful because they actually have they have two co-founders that jointly make like company decisions. So both DHH and Jason Fried. But I think the bigger thing is that they've always been known as sort of like a very I don't know, political organization. They're very opinionated and have posted those things for a long time, and including writing books about, you know, all sorts of things. And traditionally they I would say that they're generally like they're generally have a strong opinion about a lot of things. And then they basically just told all employees that they weren't allowed to share any of those political opinions at work in workspaces, but they strongly encouraged their employees to still voice their opinions, and said there would be no work repercussions outside of work by doing that. So if you have your own Twitter or your own blog or anything else that wasn't a company platform, they still said you should discuss whatever you want there. And if co-workers wanted to join you on those other platforms outside of company platforms, that they were okay with that. But then people I think are very entrenched in what the company culture was and don't like this new change. And that's what I gather led to this whole defection of a bunch of people.
Joaquin, anything else to add to that, or?
Oh no, that's just about Summit. But I figure it's in the news and people might.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that to my attention. I had heard. I've had my head in the sand for the last 2 weeks.
I'm wondering if, at least a few of them may have, just taken advantage of the 6 month severance and, I don't, whatever's going on with all this other stuff. But hey, 6 months severance, I've always been wanting to, try to do, and now I have the opportunity to.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
That's like a good reason to do it.
Definitely a few. There's like at least one person that was going to have maternity leave or something like that. So she decided, hey, I'm taking it. And it's like, want to focus on the family or something like that. So yeah, definitely some people.
Cool. Any other announcements or news items, questions? We should be back to a normal office hours next week as I'm settled.
I just got done taking certified Scrum product owner. It was good.
Interesting. Was that something you elected to do, or somebody put you through?
Both. I wanted it, but my company paid for it, so that was good.
Cool. What was the biggest thing you got out of it?
Biggest thing I got out of it.
Other than the certification? Through the process of studying for it, preparing for it?
Probably, a better understanding of the baseline, of what Scrum is, according to the creators of Scrum, and there's a website called Scrum Guides, right? That is written by the creators of Scrum versus, what my Scrum team does back at my company that, a lot of things we thought we were doing was Scrum, and, it turns out it was a bunch of, over the years, things tend to kind of drift. So it's good.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, in the end,
one of the things is like, a lot of these things are like great guys to have, but like it's great to do what works for your team.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say.
I mean, so there's a Japanese phrase called shuha-ri. Has anyone heard of shuha-ri? Where it's understanding. Shu is understanding, ha is adapting, and ri is mastery. And so what I've seen happen, and especially in my own team, in my own company, is exactly what I don't know who just talked and said, it's good as a jumping off point, but then you adapt. Was people adapting without really understanding what the jumping off point was to begin with. They skipped shu and went to ha. And so I think the biggest thing I got was an understanding of what shu is now, so that when we adapt, we have a baseline of what this was before and how we are adapting it.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Like as people come in and out and move, people just continue to do things because they've always done it. And yeah, without understanding, why you do something. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the monkeys on the ladder experiment with the, putting a banana up on top of the ladder and then spraying the monkeys whenever they would try to reach for the banana. You swap out one monkey at a time until all the monkeys are different. Nobody's spraying any monkeys anymore, but nobody reaches for the banana because all the other monkeys are like, no, don't do
it. I didn't know about that experiment.
Oh, dude, I'll look it up. I'll put it in office hours. It's really good.
Yeah, well, that's also, that's the kind of institutional memory that saved the Mocha from the tidal wave. So it goes both ways.
I can totally see that.
Yeah,
What was that thing you said, Jeremy, that saved what from the tidal wave?
There was a tidal wave in several years back. I think it was in Thailand or that part of the world anyway. And there is a tribe of water living people. The kids learn to swim before they learn to walk, called the Mocha.
Okay.
And they had an institutional memory like this. They had a story about this something along the lines of the sea, the beach swallowing up the sea, or something like that. Anyway, the precursor to a tidal wave is that the tide rolls way out before the tidal wave comes in. And they had this story about it, and one of the elders recognized this is the story. This is exactly the story that we've been telling for generations that none of us have ever seen. But because of that, those folks saw that the tidal wave was coming. They got in boats and they went out to sea, and they completely survived the tidal wave. Whereas even fishermen didn't recognize that the tidal wave was coming in.
Wow, that's really interesting.
Yeah, on the Shuhari thing, I've heard it before, where like Shu is where you know the rules, or you learn the rules and you follow them just sort of blindly until you get to a point where you understand the rules.
Yep.
And then you look for like places where like exceptions make sense, and places where you might want to break the rules. And then the re part is where you don't just blindly memorize the rules anymore, because you actually have developed a mastery of what the rules are trying to guide you towards, and you just know how to do the right thing without actually following the rules, like because you've now grasped the essence of what you were trying to do. So it's an interesting thing. They use it in martial arts a lot too. Yeah.
Spotify has a unique way they do their business that other people have tried to copy, mostly unsuccessfully. And it's Spotify went through Shuha, and they were in this restate where they've got this way of doing business that is unique to them, and they've crafted and molded for their particular case. And the mistake people make is, oh, let's mimic Spotify in our situation, rather than starting from the basics.
There's another funny side part to that story, which is that everybody apparently just copied a blog post that someone had made while they're in the middle of the experiment trying to do it, and it never actually even worked at Spotify. They were just like, hey, this is the way we're going to start doing it. It should work really well. And then they made a big blog post about it, right? Like, and then a bunch of people started copying, oh, this is the way Spotify does engineering. And turns out it never actually worked in practice anyway. And it was just a blog post, and everybody was, anyway, that's how I heard it, at least, which is pretty funny.
That sounds great. I want to read that. Scott, do you have could you look up that link?
Yeah, I'll see if I can find it.
Yeah.
I think like a good example of this kind of stuff is probably like if you look at real immature organizations, like a lot of them not doing like branch protection, or like not doing pull requests. Everyone's just committing like directly to master. And like those of us that have been around a long time know that's like a terrible idea, and like would never set out and do that. But like there's some like underlying why and guidance and rules that you would put together to describe why that is. But like off the top of your head, you don't every day say, well, I'm following this rule that says we must do this because of X, Y, and Z. You just do it because it's the right thing to do at this point. That's the kind of like circle of life thing that you look at there. So it's a pretty interesting philosophy of way of looking at the way you do what you do every day in life and at work.
Who else has heard someone say, just do the agile or just do the DevOps?
Yeah.
Was that one company we had something was the marketing, like the product management was waterfall, but the engineering was agile. And so I started calling it fragile. And then
Yeah.
because they point fingers and blame other people at the end, the one of the engineers called it, instead of waterfall, they call it waterboarding. And so we started calling the whole process fragile waterboarding.
That's good. That's even better than water scrum fall.
Do the agile, but I want your 2-year product roadmap.
Yeah.
I could talk about this for hours.
Well, you're in the thick of it. You're in a very
Yeah,
bureaucratic-
defense.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Couldn't do it.
Yeah, I posted one link. I haven't reviewed it, but I just saw the graphic and I thought, okay, this got to be good, because it had a diagram about the Shuhari, and they put the triangle, and the top was waterfall, and then transition layer, and then the bottom was fragile. So I said, okay, this has got to probably be good content here on the Shuhari.
Cool. Cool. Any other questions, announcements? We have another 5 minutes on the books. If not, we can always end a little bit early today.
Well, I can mention a small tool in case it's not like new, but it helps with my ADHD, is Kube Color.
Oh, what's that? I haven't seen that.
And so basically it colorizes your kubectl output and makes it really easy to find errors and spot stuff. And so when you do like a describe or even the YAML output, it looks really nice, and it's really easy to spot stuff. It colorizes stuff in different things. If it's like terminating, let's say have it in red, just looks really good. And so I've been using that because it's so easy to spot things and organize stuff and pull out stuff out of a sea of endless information.
Yeah, that's cool. I dig it. Oh, cool. And it's a Go util. I just shared it in the Office Hours channel.
I don't know if anyone else uses it, but one that I like in there, if we're sharing quick tools, is Kubetail as well. So it's Kubetail, and it's basically just you can Kubetail like a deployment or a pod or whatever, and it will actually just watch all the logs for all of the different pods that are running that for you and give them all to you in a different color. And especially if you only know like the deployment name and not the pod name, it actually helps where you don't have to, especially if you're debugging and like starting and stopping things and you want to get log file from it, helps a lot.
Sure, you don't want to download that Trojan?
Yeah, seriously. Live, getting infected live. I wonder what the how Kubetail differs from Stern.
That I have no idea. I've never used it.
Yeah.
It seems like the hackers have gamified that search.
Yeah.
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 It's annoying, like Google search, you can't like flag malicious links and say, this is a malicious link, maybe take it off your search list. And it's like, nope.
Some of these things just seem so obviously malicious, but I don't know.
Yeah, you must they must have you on like some list because it comes up like as the first thing for me on mine.
Oh,
my Google
I literally searched for Kubetail versus Stern.
No, I know. I'm saying when I did that, I actually get like regular like results. I don't get like the same hacky things that you do.
They're targeting you.
Interesting.
Also on Flash news, there's a recent announcement. I guess Windows is like purged Flash now. So you can't get Flash on Windows anymore. Windows 10.
Yeah. Which has been the case for Mac for a while, right?
No, you can still get Flash on Mac. It just doesn't come. It just doesn't come shipped with it anymore.
So now you're saying you can't even download Flash for Windows if you wanted to. Kubetail. Looks like this is more recently updated. Stern looks like it was 2 years. Hadn't been updated for a couple of years now. So it looks like maybe it's a dead project. All right. Well, I think we made it to the end of the hour today. Thanks, guys. Sorry for not having more content on the agenda. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Head over to youtube.com/c/cloudposse to catch up on past episodes of Office Hours. As well, if you haven't joined our Slack team, head over to slack.cloudposse.com and join 3,700 others who have already. We have a podcast as well with all of these Office Hours syndicated there. We'll post a recording of this there in a few hours, as well as look forward to connecting with you on LinkedIn. If you haven't added me, head over to linkedin.com/in/Osterman. And I look forward to connecting with everyone in our community here. See you all next week, same time, same place. Have a great rest of your week.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks, Eric. Bye, guys.
You guys.